Welcome to Fans of the Forge, where we are recapping Season 6, Episode 13, Battle of the Branches. It's the Navy's turn.
Oh, yes.
All right. So, let's get to it. Our contestants this week, we have Jared Clymer with 10 years of service. Then we have Lee Crawford, 4 years of service. Tyler Norcutt, 10 years of service. And finally, Elijah Waddle, 9 years of service.
All right.
So,
I have a soft spot for the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. So I'm like, yay,
right.
Navy
Go
episode.
Navy.
Go Navy. Well, all the branches also.
for round one, they are asked to make a Mark III dive tool / dive knife. It's the standard issue tool for naval forces for over 30 years and features a clip point and row of serrated teeth. So it must have a clip point, a false edge, 3 inches of sawback, and a through tang. The length of the blade must be between 8 and 10 inches. And they must harvest steel from an anchored chain and combine it with some 10 series steel to make a San Mai blade.
Another San Mai blade.
San Mai blade.
So 3 of the 4 making San Mai.
Right.
How come the Army got off easy?
I don't know.
I mean, theirs wasn't easy. They had a pretty difficult weapon to make.
Yeah.
But these weapons aren't nothing to sneeze at.
No.
Yeah.
So, first up, we have Jared. I don't have a lot of notes for him because he just was working.
Okay.
So he had a piece of chain. They showed him like welding on a piece of rebar too, and he had it in the vise and trying to stretch it out, straighten it out, and it looked kind of crazy. And that was like about all the theatrics for him. They did show him quenching and putting his saw teeth in. No real drama for him. For Lee, they show him grabbing a torch, cutting up the pieces of chain for all the guys, and he went and cleaned his metal, came out with some great forge welds in doing so, and put the teeth on before the quench. But he also had more of a drop point than a clip point.
Right.
So there could be an issue doing the teeth on before the quench because that can cause issues.
Oh, yeah.
The way the grain structure works, like when it's being heated and quenched.
Right. And those teeth are going to get a lot hotter than the rest of the blade, so you can overheat them also. And for Tyler, he had he got some big blue hypnosis, and he ended up like drawing out 10 inches of this W2 or whatever hard steel he was working on. So he was drawing out
10 inches or 20 inches?
20 inches.
No, 20.
Because he was supposed to have 10.
Right. So he took this, a chunk of his hardenable, his high carbon.
Yeah.
Went to Big Blue first to flatten it out, and then drew it way out.
Oh, my God.
So he had to cut a piece off and then go for a San Mai.
20 inches, that's...
It was insanely
It was
long.
twice the length that he needed and half the depth. Yeah.
So his forge weld came apart while he was on the press, and he didn't clean the steel beforehand. Thus, his welds didn't really take.
Right.
He cut in some wild teeth instead of using saw teeth.
Well, he didn't clean, like he said, he didn't know how to do serrations, so he just kind of took a guess.
He went wild.
He
with
did something.
It was aggressive. And Dave Baker said that saw teeth should all go in one direction. These are all pointed and
all different sizes.
Yeah,
It was not good.
Not looking too good. For Elijah, he ended up burning himself on some hot rebar.
Oh.
So he was going to weld on, I think, a work stick, and he went to pick it up, and he burned his hand pretty bad. Had it wrapped up, and
Had to wear a glove.
Mm-hmm. And while grinding his blade, the saw teeth ended up catching the belt and ripping it, and it flew apart. And Ben Abb was like, "That belt's gonna like shred apart." And sure enough, they show that happening.
Oh,
And
no.
they're all
Dave
like,
Baker's like, "You called it." So moving on to judging for Jared, it was really thin, but it was a solid piece. For Lee, it was a clean San Mai, but it did not have the clip point.
Mm-hmm.
For Elijah, it needed to refine the clip and has a D-lam that hopefully doesn't go deep.
I think
it was long, though.
It was long
but it was
D-lam.
along the edge,
Yeah.
and it could still possibly be cleaned up with the grinding.
For Tyler, the knife isn't welded, and Ben can actually see all the way through the knife.
They really spared no expense
Yeah.
to take this shot and hold that
Right,
knife
they did
up
like
to
that, the weird focus. They did a slow focus in or out or whatever
there was
to
a
bring it.
microscopic little view
Yeah.
so you could see through that
And
knife.
see the light
you could
through.
see the light right through there.
Yeah.
It was something.
I've not seen that before.
No.
Needless to say, Tyler got the boot.
Yeah.
So, moving on to round 2.
So round 2 must have a symmetrical crossguard, a stacked rubber handle, butt cap, and acid etch.
Okay.
So for Jared, he takes the meat out of the blade. He wants to go for a burn through of the rubber handle, but the rubber isn't melting through.
No,
Oh,
Because
yeah.
rubber
silly.
doesn't
That
burn.
doesn't sound like it's going to work.
that was later. Dave was like, "Yeah, that's like fireproof rubber."
Oh, yeah.
On purpose. Yeah.
Point.
He changes it up and drills through the rubber. Lee works to fix the point on his knife. He has a long handle, but gets work done with time to spare and gets the acid etch.
Mhm.
And then Elijah, he's got this burned hand. He's chasing the D-Lam, but it isn't going away. His hand is slowing him down. While gluing the handle, the guard comes away.
Yeah, because he's clamping. So he's got
He
all the
clamps
rubber stacked. So then he's clamping like the butt cap and against the
Around the guard.
guard. So it's squishing it, and then it ended up pulling away
yeah,
from.
rather than pulling the butt cap and everything down, it pulls
Because you couldn't really do that.
evenly. Yeah.
So
He's able to get an edge on the blade, but he does not have time to acid etch.
Oof. That's not good.
So for the testing, they are bashing against an anchor chain.
That's Ben Abbott doing it right.
Ben Abbott's doing that. Jared's breaks after the 5th strike.
Oof.
in the closed captioning said foreboding music.
Foreboding music.
As they're picking up the 2 pieces or the piece.
And it broke at a sawtooth point.
Yeah, it makes sense. It was a very
Because the
sharp
stress points, yeah.
Yeah, stress point.
Lee saying, as long as I get through 5, I'm going to make it. Oh, wouldn't you know, his breaks on the first strike.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that was tough.
Beautiful grain, but again, broke at a sawtooth. And then Elijah did not even get to test because of that guard and the acid etch. He got a vote of no confidence. So he got a boot
Oh,
without even getting to try.
So, I mean, Ben is like,
stinks.
I want to know like where the hard seal is and where the miles.
Yeah.
Okay,
It makes
like,
sense.
Blah blah blah. Be quiet. And like they knew he didn't etch. Like they showed it, and
And it's
you're
part of
like,
the
I hope he's gonna
parameters.
etch it, and it shows him not. And then Will is like at the end of round 2
Too. Yeah.
is like, all right, guys, drop your tools, blah, blah, blah. Pull your knives out of the etch. And it shows Elijah like, oh, shit. Like the oh, shit face. Like, and
yeah.
I felt bad. I was like, oh, man, he's like shitting his pants, because he didn't acid etch. And then like you wait for testing. Like, yeah, okay, we know. We know.
yeah.
But he's an officer and he appreciates what the rules are and completely,
Yeah.
takes it in stride as I didn't meet this thing. So, yeah. And he goes and shakes everybody's hand with his burned hand.
With his burned hand, he
Yeah.
just muscled through it, gave
Ugh.
handshakes and hugs, and left the forge.
Yeah.
So it stunk, but what are you going to do? So we move on to our final round. Our 2 remaining Smiths had to make a US Naval Officer Sword. For 250 years, it has been a distinguished and integral piece of the Navy personnel, and it was eventually suspended from combat operations. It's still worn as a symbol of naval authority. It must be between 29 to 30 inches and have a leaf-shaped guard, an upswept rear quillion, a knuckle bow, and a pipe pommel.
I like that all of the final weapons have been the officer swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is cool. It makes sense. So then that makes you think, well, when they have the final tournament with the 4 against each other, what are they going to have them make?
Oh.
Well, about that, I noticed the bracket because they said it's a 5-week series.
Yeah, the last week is the 4 competitors going against each other.
It showed the bracket looked like it was 2 and 2 and then the final. So I don't know. You might want to look at that. Is that 5 weeks though?
Yeah.
Because it's one. It's been.
No,
This is the second week.
No, they didn't say it was a 5-week. It was a 3-week tournament.
I heard 5.
I
heard him
It
say
might have
today,
been 5
5.
week, like at the time that they filmed it, maybe they were intending on
I don't know
making
why they would
span
leave
5
it in
weeks.
because I listened to it today and he said 5-week tournament.
There's no more. They've already said it's only the 4.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's a 5-show, 3-week tournament because
I want to pull up the if we can find the bracket that they use on a show. Oh,
It's at
we
the
can
end.
look at the episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get through this. So for Jared, he forged the sword shape, and then he got the blade quenched on his first day. On the second day, he had to start working on the guard, and he weaved metal wire to make the guard, which looked pretty cool.
It
was an interesting
looked
design.
cool, but it looked difficult.
Oh,
So
yeah.
He was like, this is taking up a lot more space than I thought, and blah, blah, blah. But
It was pretty big,
Yeah.
but overall it ended up looking pretty cool.
yeah, it looked good.
They didn't show anything for day 3, and then on day 4, he put all the pieces together. For Lee, it's the longest sword he's ever made, and he goes to his power hammer but has some trouble getting it started at first.
Yeah. Make some adjustments, gets it going.
And move on. For day 2, he starts to grind in the hand fuller, and he gets his blade quenched, but there's a bow in the blade. And then on day 3, after tempering, the warp came back, so he clamps it down and adds some heat and manages to get most of the warp out without removing the hardness. So that works.
Yeah.
For day 4, they didn't show anything else for him. And they move on to the Keel Test, the pig carcass assault. And first up, we have Jared, who had good balance and a very sharp blade, and it will keel. And then Lee had a comfortable handle with no damage to the blade. It will also keel. For the strength test, it was a flex test. Oh, so
Yeah.
did they have to put it in and then?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
they have the flex test.
Another bendy test.
Bending. Oh boy, those ones always get your heart
Yeah.
rate going.
Yeah.
So, did they have an angle they had to go to? Was it 90 degrees?
He didn't say.
It wasn't 90.
No.
Maybe 45.
Maybe 45, but he didn't say a number.
They've done 30 degrees in the past.
It was more than 30.
More than 30.
Yeah. It
All
was
right.
45.
Well, they had to do a flex test where they bent the blade. For Jared, his was just as straight as the beginning of the test when he was done, and for Lee, his was also still straight.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Passed.
Then for the sharpness test, they had the fish slice 3 descending salmon. What does that mean? 3
So
descending
there were
salmon?
3.
linked together, and
They were linked like mouth to tail.
Oh.
And they lowered in front
Yeah.
of Dave Baker, and he was just like, foop, foop, foop.
human centifish, or not human. Salmon centifish.
I had the same idea. Salmon centipede, is that what you're going
Yeah.
for?
Yes. Until he runs out of fish.
Yeah, so like he
Okay.
would start
There
cutting,
were
and
3.
it's like slowly lower down, and
I
Oh,
think so.
okay.
It looked like he was trying to do like 3 per fish.
Okay.
9 altogether.
So anyway, for Jared, his handle was a little wide, but it did a great job. And for Lee, it cut beautifully and had great balance. So it comes down to 2 blades that both performed well with no
Yeah.
issues. And in the end, Lee ended up winning. Jared lost because of the aesthetics of the blade and how it felt in the hand.
yeah.
Which,
I'm disappointed in that logic because he doesn't know their hand size. How's he going to make a handle for the judges?
well, he just has to do his best to guess. Jared was able to do something that worked. Right? You
Lee
have to be
was.
able to.
You mean
Lee
Lee
got
was? Lee was
Oh,
one.
excuse me. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Lee.
Yeah.
Lee made
figured
it
it
work.
out.
Lee figured it out. So Jared, could have done something differently, maybe, or sized it differently. Other people that compete in the show all have to
It's
guess.
tough.
It's hard to.
I know
give-
they all have to guess. I'm just sad that that's the
Yeah.
reason that he
Because he
wasn't
did
as
so
good
well.
at guessing as Lee. Someone
I
else's
agree.
hand size.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
What?
Are you done ranting, Teresa?
Oh, you got the sigh.
Oh, man.
Sean.
How often do I get to rant? Come on, he's always going on about Dave Baker and his hands.
They are beefy.
And his phone cases.
Oh,
Get out
yeah.
of here with this. Anyway, that was the episode. It was a pretty good episode. There
Yeah.
was some really crazy stuff going on, especially with that round 2.
They got a
Tuesday.
good Smith coming out of the Navy group here.
Oh, yeah. So
So.
it's a stacked final. I think this is
It's
all
gonna be good.
going to the final. It's going to be interesting to see what they have to make. We're looking forward to it. And then maybe, I'll get off my butt and try to contact somebody for an interview. And
Oh,
see
yeah.
who wins
You should
that
do that.
final. That'd be a good
Yeah.
one, right?
Or any of these guys.
Any of these
Yeah.
guys would be
Yeah.
great. But,
Any guys. We like to talk to people.
well, if that's true. We've been very busy lately,
Yeah.
so getting
Also
interviews
true.
has been difficult. And anyway, thanks everybody for following and subscribing to us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And what else we got?
Giveaway?
We have our giveaway where we're giving
Yeah.
away
Stuff.
like an ostrich egg, a batch of beef jerky that Sean made.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Some hot sauce that I made. Teresa made a knife banner. We have crossbow bolt tips that are supposed to be miniature crossbow bolts, hopefully sometime soon, once we figure out what we're going to do for the handles on that,
Yeah.
or the bolts themselves. We need to make them or find someone to make them. And I've been looking.
Get some cheap dowels from Home Depot.
That really would not do J.D. Hungerford's crossbow bolt
Oh,
tips
well.
justice. I don't think. We need to get some nice looking wood if we're going to do that.
Mm.
Give it a nice smooth shape. Maybe a little stain. Make it look good. Right?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll do our
We're
best.
working on it.
We're working on it. Hopefully we can find somebody here to help us out with this soon, maybe.
Yep.
Anyway, that's that. If you want to enter that contest, look on our Instagram page and look for the 1,000 subscriber post. And that has
Yep.
all the rules and details.
Good deal.
And that's it. I think that's it
Yeah.
for the episode. Thanks for watching. And we'll catch you next week for the final episode of this Battle of the Branches
All right.
tournament. Thanks for watching.
See you later.
I stumbled across one of our old notebooks.
The
Yeah.
old notebook.
The old notebook.
We still
put
kept it
down there.
on a notebook.
Oh, you lost the page. It's kind of falling apart. Look at this thing.
You ripped that
Yeah.
off. That's
Oh, I ripped that page out for something else. Okay.
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I used to take notes. And,
Look at all these freaking notes.
I still have the
Yeah.
whiteboard in there.
I posted a thing from a year
yeah,
ago
I saw that.
that was you and Sean writing notes.
Yep.
We've been doing this a year?
Over a year now.
Wow.
I'll show it
I
to
know,
you real
right?
quick.
Back when it used to be on Tuesday nights.
Yep.
Yep, I miss it being on Tuesday nights. For example, we don't always get to watch the episode between Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
May 16th, 2018.
Wow.
Copying the notes from here onto the whiteboard. So glad that we switched to the computer.
Yeah. I don't even remember when we decided to do that, but it was like,
It's an epiphany moment.
yeah.
Yeah. I had thought about it, but I never said anything. I was like, oh, I wonder if we could. I was like, I don't know. It works.
Yep.
All right, who's doing what part?